Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I'm your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout out last week's episode 232 with Brennan Fromm. And on that episode, he was talking about being an actor, being a model, and he really went into depth about battling his OCD and working through his mental health and kind of looking at alternative medicines and how that's kind of helped him really excel in his life. And I thought it was a really great episode. So if you want to check that out, go to thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you'd like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search The Carroll Connection, or at Jared M. Carroll, and it should pop up. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll, at Jared M. Carroll, or at The Carroll Connection. We'll set that up. As well as plugging the 5 Pillars of Creating Meaningful Life. It's only available on Amazon. And if you buy the book and you really like the book, submit the review on Amazon. It helps me in the algorithm. So with that being said, bringing in for episode 233, bringing in my guest, Andre.
My name is Andre Marines, and I'm an entrepreneur.
Perfect. And we're going to dive into everything that you do, why you do it, and we'll build upon that as we get into it. And kind of I was telling you off podcast, I like to start with family dynamic.
Absolutely.
And for any new listeners, I like to kind of explain why I do that. And the reason being is kind of when we're talking about your life story, I feel like it's important to kind of start from the beginning and like kind
For
of
sure.
build to tell a complete story. And the reason I always lean on family dynamic is when you're thinking about a house or building a house, where do you kind of start? It's the foundation. And when I think about our family, I think about the family being the foundation for better or for worse. And I think it gives a great insight into what everyone's family is like because every family dynamic is different. And I think this segment of the podcast has always been super beneficial for me to also kind of see where people are coming from and kind of show the audience that there are different family dynamics and
My
that
background.
can always lead to different circumstances and ultimately everyone can still chase their passion in different ways
Sure.
coming from different backgrounds, and I think that's a great thing. So
Helps mold you to become who you are today.
yeah,
Your
exactly.
life
And
experiences and your upbringing.
yeah, so with that being said, I'll have you go into your family dynamic, and it's with whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
For sure.
Take the floor with that.
All right. So like going back as far as
Like
when I
childhood
was
and
a kid.
stuff, like yeah, like if you want like relationships with your parents or grandparents or siblings, whatever yours is like.
Absolutely. So, ultimately, like probably many people, grew up in a broken home since I was 6, divorced parents. Just kind of traveling back and forth. Some days with my father, some days with my mother, changing schools. Uh, a lot of that moving as well. Until we got to probably, end of elementary. And that's kind of like where I started like settling down. And uh, was kind of going to elementary in Pawtucket. We were there for quite some time. Lived in Pawtucket. How many years? Probably a decade, possibly. I'm assuming. Went to elementary, went to middle school, um, and even still lived in Pawtucket when I went to high school. Went to Davies technical career. He was originally going to go for business, ended up going for automotive. I feel like that was a premature adolescent decision. It was primarily because what they were trying to teach us at that time was things that I already kind of knew that I learned from middle school, Excel, basically Microsoft Office apps and things like that. So rather than sticking it through and seeing what else I can learn, I ended up switching to automotive. Do I regret it? No, because it's auto automotive skills is I feel like it's a skill that you know a man should have, and being able to at least fix your car or handle anything like that. When it comes to that. So took went to automotive for those 4 years. After I graduated, um,
Before you go into graduation,
yeah,
I want to dive into a piece of kind of what you're talking about and early upbringing, having the parents that are divorced.
right.
Did you feel the struggle of that at all? And if not, it's totally fine.
Mhm.
During like, I want to say
It's a great
maybe more
question.
middle school, I guess, because that's typically when we're kind of a little bit maybe more aware of stuff like that. And if it is earlier, then dive into that. But I want to know like how that was for you.
Sure. When it comes to like the dynamic, during that time, my parents were pretty involved. Grateful for that. Because you know the what could happen and what other people could face is complete opposite, right? So I'm grateful for my parents, being involved. Um, I was going to during that time, it does become a little bit, tedious just traveling, having to go back and forth to one side of the parents' house and going to the other side of the parents' house. Um, However, it was manageable, and at that time I was going into sports, soccer, football, martial arts, things like that, and at that time, even then, both of my parents were taking me, showing up to those sports. Um, so can't say that, it was like hard times or, it really yeah, in the beginning it was tough, emotionally and also moving too. It's like, you don't have that stability, trying to move, sometimes you have mattresses on the floor until you get that stability, which I feel like going in once we moved into Pawtucket, then things life started getting better and easier. But growing up in a broken family, um, it wasn't too much of a burden, just a little bit tedious, I should say.
Yeah, it sounds
You
like
know,
you had pretty involved parents that were willing to at least co-parent and like
correct,
and work on that piece,
which
which
I'm
is
grateful for.
huge blessing because like I've had a lot of people talk on the podcast of like the struggle of having divorced parents when they don't
When they don't,
co-parent, and that is a huge blessing because it allows the children to have some stability even if the the parents have their own issues and it is what it is, that they're able to still put the needs of the child first
for
and
sure,
not hold on to so much of the pettiness of a relationship because I can understand like how that can be super difficult when you have clashing emotions and feelings with each other and you have children involved, and we see this in society how
I've seen it happen
yeah, it can be very damaging to the children, and it's
traumatic
unfortunate that this type of stuff happens and happens pretty regularly, unfortunately. And
for sure.
I think seeing someone like yourself, and obviously we'll build into your successes as we go through the podcast, to get to where you are is a huge accomplishment with a background similar to that because a lot of
Mhm.
people don't always have the situation with their parents to invest in them and put their needs first. And
Correct.
I
Make that
think
sacrifice for
yeah,
their
and I think that's super
kids.
important because like I'm lucky because I come from a completely different family background where my parents are still married and like
Nice.
they invested a lot into me being where I am. Like I don't know if I even start a podcast if I don't have their belief in me and like the way that they put their all into their relationship to push us forward
Right.
and created a great family dynamic for us to kind of mold, and I think that definitely helped me in a lot of aspects in life. And
That's a blessing
yeah, and I don't take it for granted at all because I've seen and heard from a lot of different people the struggles of that. And
for
like
sure.
this is part of the reason I talk about family dynamic because like I would never know that about you if I just didn't ask. And I
Right.
think that's an important piece to at least know as we build your life story and learn more about you on the podcast because we get to see this whole picture of like where you start from to where you get to. And I think
I
that's
feel like
important.
I feel like what that has taught me is that even though things might not work out, it's manageable. You can get through it.
Yeah, I think that's a awesome piece of advice is like sometimes things are going to be tough and uncomfortable and frustrating, but it's manageable. You can
Right.
get through those type of
Exactly.
things, and I really I like that type of mindset because I feel like a lot of people struggle to have that these days,
Absolutely.
and we're seeing less of people being willing to like push through adversity
Hmm.
and crumbling to it. And obviously, there's a bunch of different circumstances that can cause that, but
For sure.
I think it's important that people have these skills
Hmm.
because life is not easy.
Right.
It's going to be.
Skills, have those skills and understanding too. I feel like, having a full understanding of life kind of will help you know, help your discernment on your life decisions, you know?
Mm.
Um, so, and that's kind of like what I understood from seeing how, my parents were able to, co-parent and still raise myself and my sister.
Yeah, that's amazing that they're able to do that.
Hmm.
You mentioned some sports there,
Yeah.
and that's typically my next transition, which I think is a great. This is a great segue. Is do you think that having those outlets helped you excel or work on like social skills at all?
Oh, I agree. I agree. And, you know, having, take actually doing these sports and partaking in these sports has helped me also kind of distract myself from uh what's been going on, and obviously the split and all of that. um it kind of, it's like escape, it's like an escape, and kind of drains out the noise and those distractions. um i i I love, take, the sports that I was taking at that time.
What were your favorite ones?
My favorite would probably have to be either baseball or martial arts.
And follow up is why.
Why? Well, baseball, I feel like, my interest is just stronger there. I love the sport. I'm half Dominican. Uh, and as far as when it comes to martial arts, um, again, I think it's just my love for the sport. It's very intriguing. I still watch UFC fights till this day, every single Saturday. um, I ended up stopping martial arts at one point, and because I loved the art, I ended up, you know, going back, kind of like when I was around like my teenage years, for a few years, I believe, and since then, I haven't been in sports, but
Yeah, yeah. But
but it was good when it lasted.
yeah, I think contact sports are essential
Hmm.
when you're talking about specifically young men, boys,
Hmm.
teenagers to have these sports because it teaches you like the physicality of life a little bit.
Right.
And I played football growing up and
Toughens
like
them up.
yeah, and I wouldn't be half the man I am if I didn't play sports, especially football because like there's so many different life lessons in all sports,
Yeah.
but the things that I learned from football are stuff that I carry with me to this day that
Hmm.
are helping me when I'm at my job or in my relationship or with my family. Like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of things like teamwork, leadership skills, like hard work,
Perseverance.
perseverance, consistency. Like
When it
the,
comes to martial arts too, well, even in a lot of these sports, but you see it a lot more in martial arts, is the discipline.
mm,
They teach discipline, and uh you know for these kids at a young age, which is very important.
yeah, I mean it's an essential building block of life.
It
Like
is.
if you don't have that, like you're gonna struggle
Mhm.
in most things in your life. And
I agree.
I think it's important to also I like the fact that you did different sports too, because playing different sports also teach you different things because they require different skills. Like
Correct.
baseball is a very technical sport. I played baseball pretty much all the way up until like junior year, and then it was just too much politics for me. Like I just
I believe
yeah, it's
it.
weird how certain sports are so politically driven by like parents and coaches and
Unfortunately.
who has the relationship and who's got the money, and it goes into ways that it's not always about talent,
Yeah.
and it's very unfortunate that it goes that way because I loved baseball. It was my first love. Like I played baseball before I played football, but
Nice.
the love of the game kind of got crushed when you see players that aren't better. They're not better than you, but they're playing over you, and
Right.
it's like
And they're getting these opportunities, and
because they're
when you should be getting them because you
you're
have the skill,
you have the skill, you show up to the practice,
talented.
like you're giving the results, but
Correct.
they look at this quote unquote potential they see, but it's like,
Can be discouraging.
yeah, but it's not really potential. It's just either they had a sibling that played that was really good, or like their parent had a good relationship with the coach at the time, or they
Hmm.
coached in or went to school. Like so many different
Like you said,
variables.
politics.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, and I can imagine it's even gotten worse nowadays
I
with the
believe
way
it.
that social media is, the internet is, money is. Like everything's AAU sports, AAU basketball, travel baseball. Like
Oh yeah,
if
I see it. I've been seeing it.
it's sad that we've taken like youth sports and turned it into like a business model. Like,
Rather than making it about them.
yeah, like not everyone's going pro. Most people aren't going pro, but like
Right.
these kids are training like they're going pro.
Right.
And like obviously some of them will go pro.
Rather than it being for the love of the game.
Love of the game. Love of the game and like developing lifelong skills. Like
Correct.
instead of just being good at hitting a baseball, good at
Mhm.
throwing to first base, good at pitching, good at stealing. Like why are we so hyper folks fixated, I should say, hyper fixated on like the development of these skills instead of the development of life skills?
Right.
Like most kids are not going pro, and like I don't know how many times like people need to like understand this, and it's like obviously I don't have kids, like I can appreciate the passion of wanting your kid to succeed at that level in their
Hmm.
dream because you didn't achieve it.
Right.
But like you have to have some like
It just
grip on
it
reality.
just takes away from the essence.
Yeah. I mean,
You know.
I lost so much love of baseball because of that. And I probably could have had the potential to go play in college if I stuck with it. Like,
Would you? Would you
yeah,
have gone to play college?
yeah. I loved baseball. I was really good at baseball. But like
Believe it.
the I just loved football more. Like,
Oh, interesting.
because the physical aspect, like, I liked hitting, I liked the contact, I
Tackle.
liked, like, the X's and O in football, the schemes, like, the
Mhm.
concepts behind it, the life lessons behind it, the camaraderie was different, like
I feel like there's more hype,
yeah,
within the
like,
sport.
it's one of those sports, like, I mean, it's same thing with, like, MMA, I imagine, is, like, you're going to war.
Yeah, I love it.
Like,
I love it. I love
you're legit going to war, and, like, that mindset is, like, you can't recreate it in certain sports. Like
No,
I never felt like I was going to war in baseball.
no,
Like you're not hitting someone else. You're hitting a ball.
exactly.
And obviously baseball requires a different skill set and it's a different level of intensity and it's like a game of almost patience.
But you're right
But
though. It's more technical.
yeah, like you're working on technical skills and patience and hand-eye coordination where
Mhm.
football you don't have to have technically any of that stuff. Like you could be good still. Like
Exactly.
and like that's unique, I feel like, and the way that the game is, it's very like how do I say this? It's fast paced and slow paced all at the same time.
For
Like
sure.
so many things are happening, but it's also like so the way that people can control the game with like the run plays. Like you control the tempo of the game like that, or you do no huddles, like it can be a lot faster and like it's all scheme and it's not based on one player either. Like you need a team to be good at football.
But and those are life skills that you can bring into business and personal development, and things like that, as far as preparation and planning, and you know you have these plays, you have a playbook, right? And you choose the plan that you're looking to play on that field. And same thing in life, is making those strategic decisions. Everything needs to be intentional.
Yeah, I am 100% aligned with you on that. Is like I think too many people do things without intention,
Hmm.
and that stuff I never understand that. I'm a very intentional person with the way I do things, with the way I speak about things, the way I approach my life. Like I always say that like I feel like people aren't as serious with their life as like they should
They
be,
should
like,
be.
and they almost like play with it. Where this is like it's kind of a gift. Like we have the opportunity to have a life. Like
Hmm.
when you break down the statistics of actually being alive and being human, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Like, and here we are. So like, and as far as we know, this is the life that we get. We don't know about what comes after this, depending on what you believe. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to take this a little bit more seriously? If this is, imagine if
Yeah,
atheists are,
you only got one life.
imagine if atheists are right and nothing else comes after this. This is it. Like, why would you play with that?
Exactly.
Like you should be taking it more serious, being intentional
Hmm.
with your relationships, being intentional with your business, being intentional with your schooling, whatever you're going to pursue in this life. I think a lot of people, especially now with social media and comparison, fade from that seriousness and like almost play into like this comical aspect of life where it's just like it's play.
Yeah, and no, it's unfortunate to see because, I mean, everyone is different, but all I want to see is people prosper, see people prosper, and just to see people take life for granted because that's really what they're doing. Is there's so much to life, to live for, to explore, to build, you know. And it's a matter of pursuing that and embracing life, right? Um, and people just like you said, they've lost that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's social media or the family structures nowadays. Like it's weird that almost like the values
Yeah,
have changed and
correct.
what we look
You
at,
feel
and
people have gotten comfortable.
yeah, it's
They've lowered
comfortable.
their values.
The things that people care about are way different than I feel like what I was raised on.
For sure.
Where I feel like I was raised on like caring about your family and the people around you and being present with that and like focused on that, where now, and this is where I blame social media, is people are very me centric. And I have like this like weird gripe with self-love concept because I feel like it was an important concept when you talk about mental health when it first was like kind of coming out here and like the internet and stuff like that, where people were investing in themselves and working on themselves, and I think that's all really great. My problem is I think it's become selfish. I think self-love has become selfish where everything is geared towards focusing on what makes me happy
Yeah,
instead of understanding that sometimes the things that make you happy aren't beneficial for everybody else. And
I feel it's a great topic. I feel like there has to be a healthy balance.
mhm,
You know what I mean? I feel like there's a line that shouldn't be crossed when it comes to self love and self care. Because I do believe that people should love themselves, but not uh not excessively to the point where you have a total disregard of your counterparts, right? And society and things like that. And it but it's important to not have a disregard for yourself either. So I feel like there has to be a healthy balance when it comes to that, because people can get lost in themselves, and then it becomes selfish. Then you start mistreating people. Then it's like, you start burning bridges, and yeah, it's just you have it's a whole domino effect.
yeah, and I think this is where like social media has played a huge role in that, is because it encourages a lot of people to do these like self-destructive behaviors that
Correct.
are labeled as self-love when in reality you're just being a selfish like asshole, honestly. And I think that is a issue that I've definitely seen as I've grown up with social media and the way people approach things, and they cover up their selfishness by using the terms like self-love to like hide that. And I agree with you. I think there's a balance between that because like you gotta be your loudest advocate. Because if you're not gonna advocate for
Who
yourself,
will?
yeah, who will? And if you're not doing those things to work on your stuff inside of you and like how you feel and like what you think, people are gonna take advantage of you. So you have to work on those things and love yourself to the point where you could speak for yourself and be confident in who you are. But at the same time, you have to treat others with respect for the most part. Obviously, if
Exactly.
someone's gonna disrespect you, don't take that. Like
Right.
you remove yourself from the situations when you can, and you avoid people like
And
that.
that's where the self love comes.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it builds on itself,
Correct. Yeah.
and I think a lot of people overindulge in that
That's really what
category.
it is. I feel like um what also kind of worsens that or plays a significant factor in that propaganda. We'll say is these influencers that I don't know. I feel like they the advice that they give. They feel like uh they feel that it's the right advice, but like you said, it's just they're overindulging and it becomes excessive. And who knows? They probably what are they? They're doing it for the viralness or for the views, but it's just like they're giving the wrong advice, the wrong idea to their audience, and people just consume it. They soak it in. You know,
It's the negatives of everyone having access to microphones and social media too. Is like now everyone's opinions out there, and people
they got
sometimes
the wrong way.
abuse that.
Correct.
And like it's a privilege to have a platform. If you're able to
Yeah,
build a platform and people will tune in to listen to what you have to say, like that should not be taken lightly. Like
it
that,
shouldn't.
it's a privilege to have that, and we
Yeah,
live in a time period
people.
where we're able to. Like if you go back hundreds of years, average everyday people didn't have the opportunity to speak on stuff virally. Like there wasn't
Correct.
an option for that.
There
It's
wasn't.
like what they had newspapers, if that back like the further and further back you go in history, like there, there isn't really an option. Go to the town square and scream that you
Right.
believe X, Y, and Z, and then they throw you in prison and no one ever hears from you ever again. Like that stuff happened. Like,
It did.
and now we have people that have access to technology and microphones, and they're just saying whatever, and people are
They're
buying
saying
it.
what they're buying it. Yeah, they're
And
feeding into it.
it's a scary time to live in where
I agree.
people are leveraging that accessibility to others and abusing it. And
They are
it's
abusing it.
it's not fair to especially younger generations that don't know any better.
Correct.
And hopefully like our generation can start teaching that to hopefully future generations to be more aware because obviously our parents didn't fully know what social media was. They didn't have that growing up. So like can't blame people for not knowing when they didn't have it.
Mhm.
But the more you know, the better you can do. So like it's on us to fix some of this stuff too. And hopefully we can start chipping away at that. I wanted to steer us back though a little bit. And you were getting ready to talk about graduation and talking about life after high school. Could you kind of go into that and like talk a little bit about looking at the paths that you had in front of you and what you ultimately chose?
Absolutely. So, um, you know, during high school, while I was in high school, um, I actually was heavily in music. It was an artist back in my day, right? So I used to make uh music, hip hop and R&B, local shows, during high school. And once I graduated high school, I didn't really have a plan, like a clear plan of what my career would be. And because of that, and because of my passion and what I liked, and I still love music to this day. Like I'm always listening to music. I feel the music, it moves you, right? And everyone, of course, kind of everyone reacts to music differently, right? But I used to make music again, perform, and I wanted to pursue it. I feel even to this day, I'm still a good songwriter, a good artist myself. Um, but it's just the industry, the dynamic of the industry, and it's there's a lot of negative factors within the industry that kind of steered me away from it. Uh, and because of that, I started exploring other routes. And then my father, who's been in real estate since like early 2000s, had asked me to volunteer, not volunteer, intern. intern one of the summers. So I decided to intern, but that was kind of like now that's kind of like me going back a little bit. That was probably like when I was like in middle school. I had interned like, yeah, middle school. I had interned at his real estate company. Um, so that's always kind of like been like in the back burner, like whereas it's like, all right, if I don't if I don't have a profession that I'm really interested in, you know what I mean, I can give real estate a shot because I have slight interest in real estate, and that slight interest, was always there, and I didn't really have, a passion for it, for when I started, but as after the first year, I started developing that passion, and the passion started growing. But um, I probably say I kind of came to the conclusion that I was gonna try real estate probably around 2017. 2017. Got my license 2018, and it's been history ever since. Been now I'm 8 years as a licensed realtor. I'm actually working on getting my broker's license. The process of that, and I'm also partnered with my father on a few businesses, as well as another partner that we have on one of our businesses. And I also have one that I'm working on, which is a multi-service enterprise. However, focused on the individual companies itself. But because I'm working with my father and the other businesses that we have together, I had put that aside. But I'm definitely going to be picking that up very soon. Um, but that's kind of like, long story short, that's kind of like how I got here today. Ever since I've gotten into real estate, I grew a passion for it, helping people, seeing the joy that people, got when they've achieved their dream of home ownership. Because although, everyone, the idea of the American dream has, changed a bit. Everyone has their own American dream. For most people, having a home is still part of it. And to seeing people's, gratification and their excitement, and it definitely is gratifying.
That's
you know
honestly amazing to hear that you actually have developed a passion for that, because those things that you said too, where you're literally helping people achieve lifelong dreams of
exactly.
home ownership. And like you said, the American dream has changed, but home ownership dreams haven't really,
Right.
because
For
everyone,
most people.
yeah, most
Mhm.
people envision having their own home and wanting their own home, and most people, I would say, want to have their own family in whatever format that is, and you're providing the bridge to help create that for them and giving them that opportunity with your knowledge and your expertise that you've gained over the years. And I think that's amazing. And before we get into that a little bit more, I kind of wanted to dive into the music a little bit still.
Okay,
And
absolutely.
have you ever thought about like revisiting that and like writing and like posting stuff like online?
Um, yes, but not the way that I was kind of, indulging in it before, right? The way I was creating before. I don't really foresee I don't foresee a music career for myself.
Not necessarily even
Um,
if you pursue it as a career, but like creatively. Have you ever thought like doing that like just for fun?
well, I actually created a real estate song.
That was gonna be my next question is like, have you this is like maybe just like a crazy thought, but I was like, have you ever thought about like working on something like that?
I've created a real estate song about the whole home buying process, and I actually created this back in like 2022. Never released it yet, only because one of these is like it's such a great song, like, and not to like toot my own horn or put myself on a pedestal, but I do pat myself on the back for
Yeah,
it.
gas yourself up. Like, if
Yeah. So, but
you're not supporting yourself, who will?
it's a great song. Like from the beginning to the end, you'll get the whole home buying process. just from the song. So the reason why we haven't really dropped it yet is because we've recorded the video, but it wasn't, it wasn't up to par. It wasn't really, it didn't really fit the quality of the song. It has to be the quality on both ends,
That makes
on the
sense.
music and on the video, because it's gonna be a viral moment when it drops.
Yeah.
You know,
So you plan on eventually trying to drop it.
for sure, for
That'll be
sure.
sweet. I
Yeah,
like that
it's been
concept.
it's been years though, and to create it's gonna be a crazy story when I do drop it.
Yeah.
To drop it and then say like this was written 4 or 5 years ago, and still applies.
Well, that's
It's
dope. I mean,
awesome
so it's well written because you're hitting about stuff. If it still applies years later, I mean that means you captured what that process is like.
for
And
sure in a song.
yeah, do you utilize social media in your business at all?
um, because I've been so busy, um, I've stepped away from creating content. I used to do a lot of the trending reels, the funny reels, the viral hook reels. But because, like I said, because I've been so busy, I haven't been able to. But I just recently hired a social media manager, so things are gonna change.
Nice. I like
Yeah,
that.
I for myself, for me being to allow me to manage everything that I got going on. I have pretty good healthy team, thankfully. Which I'm grateful for because I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them. I have my own personal assistant. I have a sales agent that kind of works on sales while I can't. You know what I mean? I have my personal. I will have my social media manager, and then I have my transaction coordinator, and then I have my scheduler who schedules all my showings and things like that for my clients. So, I have that structure, that infrastructure, that allows me to kind of multitask and manage everything without feeling that burden or that pressure and that stress. So it allows me to scale.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe a two-part question, but like, what things have you done to improve your leadership skills, and what do you think are like important skills a leader should have
Um, what have I done to improve my leadership
in
skills?
terms of your
Is
business? You could use it
learn.
that way.
I think more importantly is learn. You want to be the best leader that you can be, and um, it takes a specific mindset, um, for sure, specific mindset to be a great leader, and to consider your subordinates, and to make sure that they're good, right? And that's a really beneficial way to grow, is to take care of the people that work with you, and it's gonna come full circle. It comes full circle. But it's I think that when it comes to leadership is again, just taking care of those people and fostering more leaders, right? Um, you don't want to be that individual where people consider you a leader, but you're, as far as how you're leading those people that trust in you and that confide in you, is not kind of putting them in a position to grow. I feel you're failing as a leader.
Yeah, I would agree. I think making sure you don't pull up the ladder once you reach those levels is super important. And like you said, creating the next generation of leaders
Correct.
requires leaders to teach. Like,
Mhm. Leaders build more leaders. They don't build followers.
yeah, I think that's a great piece of like knowledge right there. And I don't think that we're fully seeing that in society these days, where a lot of people are afraid to take those leadership roles because of the way that they've been deemed. I think in society is like kind of the higher ups, like they don't get it. But I think, like you said, taking care of the people that are below you goes a long way because you build that level of respect where you see they're working hard, they're busting their ass for you, and like you reward that in some way, not like a fucking corporate pizza party. Like you actually go out of your way, and like what really helps people is typically financial, like financial or giving them opportunities.
Mhm.
Opportunities sometimes are even more valuable than the financial piece because when you have the opportunity, you could earn more on the financial side. And I think a lot of times people are looking for the opportunities, but aren't receiving those, and partially because I feel like we're not networking the way that we used to,
Right.
and maybe social media is to blame with that. Is because like there's a lot of things to blame on social media. I've been starting to come to this
Well, I feel like
conclusion lately.
yeah, I mean, social media is definitely a huge factor. When it comes to that societal drift, but I feel like there's a stigma behind like managerial roles, and people just don't want to manage people. People just don't want to like.
I'm
I've
in that
heard it.
camp low key. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of frustrated with the concept of like I see my managers like maybe not so much the role in like the
Hmm.
place that I'm at now, but like in previous jobs, like you look at them like I don't know if I want to do that. Like
Right.
they're doing all this for barely more than what I'm getting. Like
Hmm.
why would I want to do something like that? And then on top of that, they're dealing with the disrespect of the people above them. And this is obviously talking more corporate America, but like,
That's poor leadership.
yeah, and I think it's frustrating when you see this is like my biggest like gripe with like the higher ups in like a corporate America setting is like they don't understand the day to day stuff. And I get they're not supposed to, but like you almost have to dumb down the processes so that they can understand it. And like that blows my mind when you're at those levels. I feel like you should want to know what the people below you are doing and like understand it on a level because that would make you better at your job. Like if you don't have to do something to understand it, but if you don't even understand what's happening on a day-to-day basis and you can't communicate that to the people even above them, that's a problem. That's bad leadership. Like
Hmm.
because it comes with like the fact that like we're not socializing in those settings. Like people aren't connecting with the people below them and like seeing them. Like everyone like my issue a lot of time is like these people just go in their offices and then they stay there. They don't say good morning. They don't say have a nice night. They don't ask you like you don't have to get too personal at work. I understand that's a lot. It's kind of a conflict for a lot of people, but like
But
I think
live up to your role, though.
yeah, you're in those leadership roles. You should
Correct.
the stuff that you're talking about. People should show those skills. Like
For sure.
you've gotten to those roles, show that. And I think for a lot of people, we see these things happening in a lot of
Mhm.
these corporate settings, and it makes people not want to have those managerial roles.
Right. No, I agree, and I mean, I feel like it all starts at the top. You know what I mean? And it's like a chain of reaction. I mean, there's a relevant example that I have is right now is Costco. I'm not sure if you've seen, but Costco has been labeled as like one of the most affordable
I did see that.
places to shop for, as far as groceries, and has beaten Walmart. They're saying that $100 at Walmart can purchase that. Well, $100 what will cost you $100 at Walmart will cost you like 80 something or 90 in Costco. And the reason why I bring them up is because of their leadership and how a factor that has been able to bring them where they are today is how they treat their employees. They pay their employees $26 an hour in comparison to Walmart. It's about 16, 17. Walmart has, because of their employment, I mean, not to put Walmart out there like that, but because their employment treatment and their pay, they've had like a 44% turnover rate of employees, whereas Costco had significantly lower
Yeah, I think a huge piece of that too is like these companies. We're talking typically like the larger companies, obviously, not like
numbers.
small businesses. Um, they have been hitting record profits,
Hmm.
and they're not giving it back to their employees. And we're seeing this greed at these higher, like executive level CEOs, and this is where the frustration is. And this even goes into the housing market issue, where it's things are becoming unaffordable because as the cost of goods starts to rise in America, people's wages are not matching that. Like as much as people want to say, well, we can't pay everyone X amount of dollars. Yeah, but like the people at the top are making even more money than ever, and the things that they're selling are rising in price, and people are still making the same. Like that's a huge issue.
Companies like that should revisit their budget
Yeah, I mean,
and, and their margins
like how many
because
people need to be billionaires? Like that's
yeah.
basically where we start to go into, and I'm not gonna like do a whole like woe is me about billionaires because like
Mhm.
that doesn't solve anything. But like I think these issues are real, and it ties back into the affordability issue and kind of switching into that. How do you how do you handle that as someone in your position when you're taking on new clients and stuff like that, and they have concerns about where the housing market is? How do you guide people through that?
That's a great question. Ultimately, when it comes to affordability, um, I always tell, my clients or the people that I work with, you buy a house when you're ready, right? Um, Especially in today's market, it would be best to house hack. And house hacking is when you purchase an investment multifamily. You live in one unit, rent out the others, so that way the rental income can help offset the mortgage where it doesn't. You're not assuming that all that burden. Um, and that can help with the affordability. Especially where we're expecting to go. I mean, ultimately, and I'm gonna be honest with you. No one will be able, especially in the especially the volatility that we're facing right now and the uncertainty on a geopolitical scale, but also on a local level. If anyone was to predict the market and 100%, feel confident in their prediction, they'd be lying, right? Because there's just so many factors that go into the housing market, that where you think it might go one direction, it might go the other.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that too. I feel like I've been keeping a close eye the last like 2 3 years because I'm in the position where I'm ready to, I
Hmm.
want to, but I don't want to make a bad financial choice either because I see how volatile the market is. So
Right.
it gets scary as like a potential buyer when things are constantly changing, but it feels like things are
Hmm.
progressing in the right direction of coming down.
Right.
The fear is like obviously how fast with interest rates do they go, but then you lower that, it's going to drive the cost of houses up because people are waiting to buy because those interest rates.
Which is what we're expecting.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
like how do you advise future buyers who are in that position who
Mhm.
say I guess more of a millennial base where they are preparing to buy a house but are waiting
Sure.
for that? Because I think part of it is well, I'll let you answer. I don't want to answer
Absolutely.
it.
No, that's a great question. I'll be happy to answer that. You know, Ultimately, I explain to them, the current market condition, how we got here today. And with that, I say, you know, the cool down that we're seeing now comes from the pandemic inflation, we'll call it, where home values started skyrocketing, interest because interest rates were at like historic levels, and everyone wanted to buy, which in theory of supply and demand, when the supply is unable to accommodate the demand, brings the prices up. So right now we're seeing that cool down. We're seeing that balance, right? We'll call it a balance, where it's the or market correction, for that matter. So when it comes to advising buyers, these clients who are looking to buy, I find and explore different ways to help them take advantage of the market that we're in, because we've had interest rates at this level for quite some time already, and everyone's waiting for them to drop. So, and we've already seen what happened when that happened, during COVID. So once interest rates drop again, we can certainly see home values start increasing. So as far as like the trajectory of home values, they are going to continue increasing, especially when you're looking at the 30-year. uh chart, 30-year history chart. You see, home values at 19,000, 18,000 30 years ago, right? And then it's almost like a stock, going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But when you look at the grand scheme of it, ultimately, it's going up. It's been an upward trajectory, despite it having its little dips. So, can we say that real estate is a sound investment based off, the 30-year, chart history? We could, right? Now there's other factors, of course, that can kind of downplay, that investment or impact it on a negative level. However, because there's such a demand in housing, and everyone needs a place to stay and a roof over their head. The housing market tends to bounce back. Especially with housing policies that support the housing market, things like that. But then there's housing policies that can have the adverse effect, or there could be other international geopolitical factors that impact housing markets as well. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's uncertainty on a global scale, and that's both international and national, local, where you never know what could happen that could kind of give the market a left turn. However, if we kind of remove that, if we kind of like clear the path, remove the clouds, we definitely are expecting to see housing, like house values increase,
Yeah.
especially when rates drop.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense. And I mean, it even ties back to what we were talking about wages and like affordability is like these houses are going up. The people at the top are making more and more money each year. And if wages just kept up with that, I feel like it would almost, and obviously there's so many different factors into it, but I feel like if wages on certain level can keep up with that, the affordability of the houses isn't even so much as the issue. It's where the interest rate can really mess with a lot of people. And to build off that, I mean, you probably heard this term house broke.
Right.
How do you help people avoid those situations? Because say they're an eager buyer and they really want to get into the market. How do you manage that situation to help them prevent a situation from becoming house poor? Because like that seems like a very real fear for a lot of people.
I hear you on that. And um, the way that I work, the way that I operate is, prior to my clients even make an investment, I actually run the numbers and make sure that it's within their budget. I always go over budget. I want to make sure that my clients are comfortable with payments, because I'm not in this business to put people in positions that they're going to regret. I want to make sure that they're making sound investments, that they're happy with their purchase, and that they can afford it. So, when it comes to, my style of service, and how I advise my clients is, I'm always, calculating numbers, going over that with them, looking at the condition of the property, ultimately looking at the investment that they're interested in, and making sure that, that it's a good one, and that they're not having to invest more money into it, which can tend to happen. So I think it's just more so of having a client centric approach, um, and just focusing more so on their needs, their wants, and from there you'll be able to help them. You'll be able to guide them to the right investment for them.
Mm. I think this
Once
is fantastic advice. And honestly, building off this, I've had this question kind of sitting in my head: is how important is the relationship aspect of your business?
Very important, very important. I've had friends that turned into clients, and clients that have turned into friends and family. Relationships, I mean, it's the it's basically, how can I say, it's the what's the term that I want to use? But anyways, it's relationships is kind of, it's life. It's you, you're meeting people everywhere you go. You're meeting different people. Relationships is very important, personally and on a business level. Um, so that's kind of like my standpoint when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's I think maybe I don't know if the term is like it's like the backbone almost of
Hmm.
like the business where like if you can't create a real relationship with them, like there's gonna be a missing piece of trust.
I got the terminologies. Relationships is one of the finitudes of life. It's important. You know, Relationships are not valued enough because people people can you can get not and not to put it more on a beneficial aspect, but it's like, you can meeting the right person can, get you rich, right? Um and that's more on a personal scale. But when it comes to business though, to me, uh you know, relationships are very important because um they help, foster not only other relationships, but they you're supporting them, they're supporting you with your business. So it's like it comes full circle when you value that.
Yeah, I mean, even this whole podcast, when I think of it, it's called the Carroll Connection for a reason.
Hmm.
It's about forming the connection with someone, creating. When I look at the podcast itself, it's its own universe. It's a
Correct.
network of people that do a variety of different things that I've been able to create by sitting down with people and talking to them about their life and why they do what they do. And my network is insanely strong because of that.
Hmm.
And like I have connections in multiple different industries of people who do multiple different things. And like any of my guests know that like if they want to promote something or reach out to me, do a follow-up episode or whatever, like they always have that contact. Or if I forget who said this is gonna bother me that because it was kind of recent, but like someone on the podcast said, um, one of like kind of like a piece of advice is like if you ask a question and someone doesn't know the answer, good chance someone that they know someone else who does.
It's true.
And like I it like hit like a light switch in my head. I'm like, that is literally so true. And even if you think about like at your job, like if you ask like your coworker or manager a question of how to do something, even if they don't know how to do it, they're gonna find you someone that does.
Correct.
And like that works in any relationship that you have in life. In
Well, hopefully they'll go that extra mile to get you that someone that they
yeah,
know.
to create that relationship
To
or
create that
connection
relationship.
with that
Yeah.
person that does know or have the answer to your questions. And like
Correct.
that's the value of communication. That's the
Hmm.
value of being in these positions to make that connection. And like in a business like yours or an industry like yours, like it's super important because like you're like we said earlier, helping like create their or make their dreams become a reality essentially. And if you
Absolutely.
can't connect with them on a personal level on some instances, it's going to probably be difficult to do that because if you can't get to that personal level, how are you going to know what they truly value and dream of?
Correct.
So like that's why these things matter. And no matter what aspect of life that you're in or what industry you're in, relationships do matter. And
1,000%.
we're social creatures. Like we're meant to socialize with people as much as
Correct.
people, including myself, will promote working from home or distance learning or like these introverted styles.
Mhm.
It is important to socialize.
Correct.
And I've always said that for me, it's a balance. Like I like hybrid schedules because like yeah, I
Nothing
want to.
wrong with that.
Yeah, like I like working from home. The type of work that I do, I'm an accounting finance person. Like I want to take my work, do my work in peace. I don't want to be around everyone doing my work. Like
Right.
this is what I do. Like I need
You don't want to be
peace.
bothered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need peace to get my work done. Like I'm working with millions of dollars and
For sure.
stuff. Like I don't want to be bothered with a bunch of other questions or people being loud and obnoxious. Like that's not the type of even in school I didn't like loud classrooms. Like
Correct. That's not
I
the
was
work environment that you want to be in.
yeah. So like I value having those opportunities to work from home, but I will
Moments.
always say that I think it is important to be in person, to collaborate, to see your coworkers that you're working on a team with because like it creates a bond.
For
Like
sure.
as much as we don't like and a lot of people don't like making friendships at work sometimes, you don't have to be friends with your coworkers, but you should have a connection with your
Yeah.
coworkers.
So I feel like it's the wrong mindsets I have. Um, and again, it comes down to people's values and how they value those relationships.
Yeah, you spend most of your life at your job or your career. And I understand that we all don't always love our jobs. That's why passions and hobbies exist. But like,
Mhm.
if you're spending that much time at a place, you think it'd be worth it to like create a meaningful relationship
Right.
in some instance with somebody.
Or meaningful environment and a collaborative environment with the relationships that you're working with.
Yeah, because
You
those
know,
collaborative environments are going to create opportunities, and those
right.
opportunities can lead to the places that you want to get in life, whether it's a financial goal or a professional goal or even a personal goal. Like, you need to work with others to get to where you want to go.
For sure.
Like, this in a full circle, it goes back to the self-love stuff where people want to do everything themselves.
Hmm.
And it's possible, but it's not as likely to happen if you instead just work with
You
other
only go.
people.
You'll only go so far by yourself. You know when when you're building these relationships and you truly value them, you pour into them. More importantly, it's almost like and not everyone does, and even if they don't, you just do things gracefully and do things without without the expectation of them returning the favor, right? I feel like it's like your good deed, or you serving, you know you know you serving who you believe in, in my case God, right? Serving God through you by helping others. And you just got to do it gracefully, selflessly, and not expect anything in return. And naturally it'll come full circle. But you know sometimes it does come back. Sometimes they do pour back into your cup, right? And relationships, valuing those relationships do that for you. So
I love that, honestly. I wholeheartedly agree with that because I don't think enough people selflessly pour into others. Like,
they don't.
do it just because it's the right thing to do, not
Right.
just because it's going to benefit you. Like,
Mhm.
it can benefit you and you can help people. Those two things can exist. Like, but sometimes it's not going to benefit you, and that's okay. Not everything in life is supposed to be to your benefit. Like,
Mhm.
because if it was, then you'd probably never really understand what's good, what's bad, and all the ugly in between. Like, I like the concept of like a yin yang. Like, you
Sure.
need the bad to appreciate the good, and
It's true.
if you don't have that, like, what's the point? Like,
Hmm.
if everything's always good, what's the point? Like, you need the struggle.
Well,
Like,
how can you value the good when you haven't really been able to go through the bad, or it's just you weren't able to see the bad.
yeah,
You
and
know.
like, don't let the bad harden you either. Like,
Right.
so many people will let bad, toxic, traumatic experiences harden them to the point where they push off a lot of the good that can come their way.
For sure.
And this is where I believe in like the balance of like almost like a stoic approach, but understanding how to be emotional.
Hmm.
Like, you can't always be overly emotional, and being overly stoic, you just come off as an asshole. Like,
Right.
you have to be a human. Like,
You can't be
I
emotionally driven. You make
yeah,
irrational decisions.
exactly. And the people that will lean into like being so stoic all the time, like, I don't want to be around those people. Like, it's
Yeah.
just boring and like it's just draining. It's like you're always on. Like, you can't be human. You can't laugh. You can't joke about stuff. Like, I don't like that stuff. And
There's a loss of humanity when that
yeah,
happens.
like, it's okay to be upset about stuff. Like, it's okay to be excited for stuff. Like,
Mhm.
show the emotion that you care about things because like life is beautiful. It can
It
be
is.
beautiful. Like, and like I understand like the negatives exist, but like it always comes back to the balance for me of like appreciating and being grateful for the good, but
Right.
understanding that the bad stuff does exist and it can really hurt a lot of the time too.
Absolutely.
So like it's a very fine line that we're kind of skating through when we're talking about this stuff.
Hmm.
But I have a couple questions. I have that last question for you, but I wanted to ask this one as we start to like kind of get towards the back end of our conversation was what kind of advice would you give to people looking to get into your industry? And on top of that, what kind of advice would you have given your younger self knowing what you know now?
Nice, nice. For the ones looking to get into real estate, um, what I would say for one, it's a beautiful industry. Um, when people ask, "What do I do?" I don't tell people I do real estate. I tell people I change lives. I change people's lives because that's what we're doing. Um, so I just wanted to just kind of like highlight that. But when it comes to what they should expect and what advice I can give them, I would say to treat it like a profession, treat it like a career. Um, a lot of people think it's a you know get rich quick business where you can make money, especially if you're a good negotiator. Um, but you know, you wanna treat it like a business. You want to uh, be really care for the community and the clients that you serve. Um, because that those people they are your business, right? And again, you're helping people, achieve that dream. Um, but a lot of people just don't have, how can I say, they don't foster the work ethic because I feel they just have the wrong idea getting into the business. A lot of, especially after seeing everyone sell 20 homes during COVID. Because yeah, of course that rush of buyers that we received at that moment. But it's really not like that. I feel like that was more of like a highlight reel, when that happened. Um, but people don't know. It's like you're really leaving a 9 to 5 to work 5 to 9. You know what I mean? And I really do wake up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, and just start planning out the day, outlining my tasks, um, and making sure that everything is in order. Sometimes my days don't really end until late at night, but for me to be able to wake up that early, I've been starting to sleep earlier, so I'm kind of like going to sleep like around like 9, 10,
It's the
around
key,
that.
low key.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I saw his calendar, everybody. He's not lying. Like, this man works hard at what he does.
Yeah, it's crazy. But like I said, I'm really blessed to have my team, because they really help keep me in line and in order with my calendar and with my business as well. Um, but it's really what it is. It's day in and day out. You gotta eat, sleep, breathe real estate to be successful in it. Um, you can't think that you're gonna get full time results working the business part time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a bar. I think that's great advice for anyone looking to get into industry. And now a little bit more specific is going back to the second part of what advice would you have given your younger self?
Um, take yeah, when you're young, you know, yes, live life. Be your young self, have fun, but um, start taking as you grow, start taking life more seriously. Um, because yeah, there's I mean, everyone has a different perspective on this, but I believe everyone has like a life clock. And you know yes, everyone has their own time, like everyone has their own journey and time where they meet milestones and things like that. But I feel that there is a range when that should happen and where certain things in your life you should achieve, right? Certain things. And you know i I didn't really start too late. um However, I kind of do wish I've started a little bit earlier. And when I started taking the business a little bit more serious, because I feel like I would definitely be a lot further than where I am today. It's life lessons that you go through, as you live it. And I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned. Um, but however, you can't live life wishing that you've done everything, sooner. But I kind of do. I'm not gonna. I kind of do. And although it's not like the right perspective to have, um, but I mean, better, learning it when I did than later. I feel.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the advice that I would, you know, give myself.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for people is take life a little bit more seriously when you're younger too. Like
Mhm.
we kind of think we have forever, and it's not like that. Things happen very quickly, and
We don't.
and,
Yeah.
and you never know when your time is up. So like I think
Correct.
taking it a little bit more seriously at a younger age is fantastic advice. But as we're coming towards the end of the podcast, Andrea, this has been a fantastic conversation and a lot of knowledge has been dropped in this, and this has been awesome.
I agree.
I have one more question for you,
Yes.
and that question is, what would your advice be for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
Mm, advice that I would have for someone that wants to pursue their passion is to treat their passion like a passion, right? Be passionate about your passion. What I mean by that is, you want to be fully committed. Um, it is, especially if that passion is is also your career. If that passion is also your career, and what you want to do in life. You want to be fully committed, fully invested, because there's no greater investment you're gonna make in your life than yourself. So that's the advice that I would have. I feel a lot of people give up too easy. And, it's almost like the diamond in the rough, right? Where you're almost there, and it's just like you have that you're chipping away, and you're almost there, but that last chip could have been it, right? Um, so I say just be fully invested, be fully committed. You want to have like that intense drive and ambition for your passion. And I think to sum it up is be passionate about your passion.
Yeah, I love that. It's like that. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme too, when they're chipping away and like they
Yeah.
give up, they turn around and literally it's like the carving. It's like right behind that wall. It's
Mhm.
all the diamonds.
But the
Like
one that was passionate about it made it.
yeah,
They
and
had the
I
two
like that.
people.
Fully invested, and especially when it's like your career, you have to be.
Have
You
to be.
have to be.
Mhm.
And a lot of people do give up way too early in the journey.
If
Like
you're not fueling that passion, then it's just like that is sitting there.
it's the belief. That's part of the reason I keep doing this. Is like it's gonna like it already is something. I've learned that with like work with a therapist. Like she helped me kind of always accept that. It's like I was like always hyper fixated. I'm like when my podcast becomes something. It's like she's like Jared. It already is
It
something.
is.
Like
You
live
have a
in that.
platform.
Like you got to live in that. Like
Right.
and I just know that the value that I'm getting from this is only going to grow every time I do an episode, and just
I
to keep
agree.
doing it because you never know what's going to happen. Like just keep showing up, keep booking episodes, keep showing up to your job that you might not fully love at the moment, but like keep putting in the work. Like it pays off. Like that belief in it paying off is going to carry you in life, and I think that's a great way to kind of wrap this podcast up. And Andre, I appreciate you coming on here, and I know you're
I
a busy
appreciate the
man. I saw the
invitation.
calendar. You got a ton of going on,
Yes.
and
Next week is a little bit lighter, thankfully, but
yeah,
I'm gonna have to tell my team not to book up because I don't book my calendar like that, so I gotta just tell them to take a little bit lighter.
yeah,
Just kidding.
that'd be probably a good thing to say. I mean,
That
that's a crazy calendar.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yeah,
And
though.
it's just and I one thing that I do fail when it comes to that, and I know we're kind of concluding
Yep.
the podcast is making self love. We talk about making time for myself. So I think that's one thing that I do fail to do. So I try to kind of create that balance, but I can't complain about having the busy schedule that I have, because having work is a good problem.
Yeah, it's a privilege to have that. You'd
It
rather
is.
have work than looking for work,
Right.
and especially nowadays. But Andre,
What comes with the
appreciate.
success.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This has been a
Appreciate that.
fantastic episode. If you want to look into this camera and just plug
Yes.
where the people can find you.
Yes, you can find me Instagram Andre at Andre underscore real pro. Same thing for X and Facebook as well. But yeah, if you're anyone's interested in purchasing a property, investing, commercial, looking for a place for your business, be happy to help.
Perfect.
Also, another thing too, if you're looking to invest in Dominican Republic, we also do Caribbean investments. We have an office over there too, so be happy to help with
Nice. That's actually sweet.
that.
For
Right.
you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, thecarolconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search The Carroll Connection, or at Jared M. Carroll, and it'll pop up for you. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at The Carroll Connection. We'll set that up, as well as plugging the 5 pillars to create a meaningful life. Only available on Amazon. If you get the book and you like the book, submit the review on Amazon. It goes a long way in the algorithm. So, till next time, guys, peace.
Peace.